Trips EDM Radio Network.
Reaching out into other worlds.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of Shooting Salad with Dude. My name is Mike Scalco, and on this podcast, you're going to hear myself, Dude, Chip, and Tom Lee discussing some of the most recent conspiracy theories floating around. We're calling it coincidence or conspiracy.
Hey, is this thing on?
Check.
Yes, it is.
This is the sound of my voice.
I guess we're on.
Yes, we are.
I guess we are.
I wonder how the evil one's going to handle not having an audience watching him through the glass.
He'll probably stop on in here at least once or twice for a quick nipple flash.
I guess he's wearing that sticker because he forgot his pasties, right?
His tassels.
His tassels.
He can do the propeller.
Well, we're finally set up.
Yeah, you want to introduce everybody on the we have in here?
Yeah, I can do that, and I'll just go this way. We got Play HD,
Okay.
the lovely Faith,
Yes.
Tom Lee,
That's right.
and Mike Scalco.
Yeah.
And
here
me,
I am.
Dude.
And the dude.
Hello, everyone.
So this is not safe for work. We can tell you that.
Not
right off the
suitable
bat.
for work,
Not
but
suitable for work.
let's try to keep the profanity to a minimum in case anybody at the station actually gets to listen to it.
Yeah. We want to keep all the powers that be at bay. as
We
they
have
say.
we have editing tools.
That's right.
No worries. Speak
Put those
freely.
SpongeBob dolphin sounds in there over every cuss word. Give me on the right night, though. You'll be doing that for everything.
Speaking of cuss words, boy, oh boy, bass slut.
Dude, I can't believe I had to
we've
dump
to
it
use the dump button.
twice. So I wanted to talk to you about those conspiracy things you were floating
Oh
earlier.
boy, here we go.
I've seen a lot of those.
What's really interesting is there's been a spate of new videos posted like within the last month or two, all over YouTube, like a ridiculous amount. All the ones that I just recently filled my noggin with are all like within the last 2 months.
Well, a lot of that stuff can be seen that way, and where you're referring to the ice bucket challenges, the satanic baptismal or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the most recent ones. Was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was a satanic cleansing ritual that was a mockery of the Christian baptism, and they got whole swaths of people to participate in it.
And the ALS organization only donate like 8% of what they raised to
Right.
actually helping fight the disease.
Right, and then they drew the association that ALS supports stem cell research, which supports abortions, which is like virgin sacrifices, if you will. So
yeah.
it's I realized.
And then the other one was everybody's lighting themselves on fire.
Right, it was the opposite, the fire cleansing.
purification.
Yeah. So I mean, it might be a case. Some of that might be a case of somebody connecting the dots where they don't belong. But
Well,
I like to keep an open mind for that stuff.
If you really stop it, like we talked about the Super Bowl and how if you've studied any magical systems or any other philosophies outside of one religious book,
right,
then you're going to see the symbolism. I mean, they're right in your face with it. I mean, it literally is these rituals.
Yeah, well, that was that was one of the things that they pointed out, and it made me think. It's like, okay, if you really think about the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, go back as far as you want, but most recently, the last 4 or 5 years, I'm not into football, I'm not into sports, that kind of thing. Kind of have the idea that sports and that kind of stuff in the professional level is sort of like dope for the masses. I mean, I don't bag on anybody who gets into it because it's exciting and stuff like that. But the people that are like die hard and like their week lives or dies by whether or not their team does good on the weekend and stuff like that. So one of the things that I realized was that if you look at like the last 4, 5, 6 years worth of Super Bowls, the halftime shows are really like where they have the musical performances during the halftime shows. They're really unsettling. There is some really unsettling.
There's so much symbolic imagery going on within that.
I think
and they're doing it in front of the masses.
Right,
it's like,
everybody's
it's like
already
a Roman arena.
watching. Right, exactly. So, I mean, when you look at it in the, so they have the esoteric and the exoteric agendas, and the exoteric is the one that everyone knows. It's the one that's out in the open.
Have you seen the one for Obama's inauguration?
No, I didn't see
how
that
it's set up, just like this ritual with the white horse above him. It's in Denver with the big horse statue, and it's supposed to symbolize the bringer of the light.
Yeah.
And a Luciferian thing.
Well, I mean, you talk about Obama. Supposedly, one of the more, and again, these videos are all on YouTube, and they were posted within the last 2 months. The ones that had my jaw dropping were the ones that they were talking about how the celebrities, all these recent celebrities that have been dying, Joan Rivers, Robin Williams, Paul Walker. And like the celebrities like Amanda Bynes that, they snap and they go crazy and they carry on in public.
Because they're all mind control.
Well, that's
people.
what they're saying is that, like they're trying to, shake loose from the handlers and stuff
and
like that.
Look at how many of those female entertainers went nuts about the same age, shaved their head.
Right, yeah.
And that's when their personality, the altar that had been created for them, started to fall apart.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about when most of these artists like have their big break, a lot of them, it's like, well, you've got an eviction notice in one hand and you've got a record deal in the other.
Which essentially, and you can, even Katy Perry and some of the others have said, look, I made a deal with the devil.
Well, she has that, yeah. She's admitted it.
Even Bob Dylan, like, hey, I was at the crossroads. I made that deal with.
That's that made me think when they started talking about that stuff and I started digging into that stuff. I was like, man, I remember that old time blues song that talked about.
Oh yeah.
So maybe it's been going
and
on.
The band, The Darkness, the one hit wonder. I Believe in Love or whatever the hell it was they did, and the singer said, yeah, we literally made a deal with the devil. He goes, but if I'd have really been thinking about it and hadn't been so intoxicated, I would have asked for a successful career, not a hit song.
Right.
He goes, that's all we got.
Right. You got one song and you sold your soul.
It only costs you your soul.
Yeah, so that stuff's crazy, and the wilder stuff, like I said, is that Joan Rivers was supposedly a blood sacrifice, and that it's I know, Chip, it's funny, but it's crazy.
Well, you look at any celebrity that has talked smack about any of the last 4 presidents has had major issues. Okay, well let's start with Dana Carvey. He used to do the George H.W. Bush thing. And then all of a sudden he comes down with this crazy rare form of cancer and almost ruined his career. I mean, his career literally dried up after that.
Yeah.
But he didn't do any more George Bush impersonations after that.
Well, they say that the video that I watched said that the reason behind Joan Rivers' supposed murder, is that she was talking smack about the president and talking smack about, like she was revealing secrets
she said, well, we all know. Like all the celebrities are in the know.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, that was the interesting thing that they pointed out, was that the way that she revealed it, it wasn't like, come here, I have a big secret for you. It was like over the shoulder, like, don't be silly, everybody knows.
The person that got up in front of everybody and actually said it and named names was Michael Jackson. 2 weeks before he died.
And that was one of the other
and he was going to talk about it on every stop on his tour.
Yeah.
So they had to shut him up, no matter how much money he was making.
That was one of the interesting things that they brought up, is that if you look at, and it was coincidentally only the artists that have like gone away under some mysterious circumstances, the hologram performances.
Oh yeah.
Michael Jackson's hologram performance. Tupac did a hologram performance. So it's almost like the way
Elvis.
The way that the video, I don't know, did he do a hologram?
Yeah, he did.
I didn't know that one. Well, what they're saying is it's almost like they've captured that by sacrificing them through this ritualistic method, they've kind of captured their essence, and now they're able to kind of, like use them literally as a puppet. Whereas before
I think
it was kind of a mind control puppet. Now that they're gone,
I think it's even more than what we think, and I think if people really knew what was going on, I don't think anybody could really get their head around the enormity of it. Because to think that, okay, personally, I put religious nuts in the same category as Satanists or any other ism. There's no need for any of it. If you really think about it, this lifetime is just a blink of the eye and a lifetime of your soul.
Yeah.
It's just like an instant.
Right.
So none of this stuff really matters in the long run.
There's a lot of small stuff people sweat.
But having gone as far out there as I have, and you have sometimes, we really do exist in this matrix. And it's just a matter of tuning into the program that you want to experience.
Well, that was funny because some of the videos that I watched had a particular like religious spin, like they were Christian based or whatever. And one of the YouTube channels that I checked out was the Vigilant Christian, and it's close because there's a Vigilant Citizen.
Right.
So this is actually the Vigilant Christian. So he does put like a Christian spin on some of the stuff. But what I think is really interesting, and then I saw whether it was a Christian spun video or not, is that they all tend to sort of agree that we are in some sort of
Zen Trips EDM Radio Network.
Wanted to let you know that you can find us on Mixcloud. You can find us on SoundCloud. And most importantly, you can find us on Vimeo. The Vimeo channel will contain all of the Zen Trips EDM TV episodes that are available on demand and mobile. And the channel there is vimeo.com, vimeo.com/channels/Zen Trips. So check it out. You'll see local and traveling acts. We've created video mixes from the last 3 years or so of the show. The idea of the video mix is that we offer it as a thank you gift for donations. So if you are a DJ and you're going to be in the Tampa area sometime in the near future and you'd be interested in having us create a video mix for you, or any of the other services that we offer, like electronic press kits, logo generations, the list goes on, by all means get in contact with us at Zentripz, Zentripz, @gmail.com to find out more about these and other exciting thank you gifts that we have to offer for your donation. So without further ado,
Zen Trips EDM Radio Network.
Matrix.
Well, even science
We're
has
under
proven
some-
that.
Yeah,
the
we're
universe
under
is a
some-
giant computer program.
There's no debate on that. They all agree, and they all kind of that we're under some matrix of control. Now, the Christians tend to believe that the matrix of control is like by the evil design, and we're falling prey to the flesh and yada yada yada. Whereas the scientific people, it's more like like sacred geometry and stuff, and like that's like the structure of the universe, or like the scaffolding of the universe, and that's why that's there. So there's still a debate as to where it comes from, but there's no debate as to whether or not this is the Matrix.
I think it's more like they live. Intergalactic venture capitalists. This planet belongs to somebody. Maybe there wasn't. There was a cataclysmic event, but maybe those meteors were guided toward Earth.
Sure.
Maybe it was nuclear strikes from space. Maybe there was this global civilization that had been here for millions of years and experienced a cataclysm. Whatever it is, somebody knows the truth.
Yeah.
And they're using what they know and that knowledge to control the population. Because I'm sorry, you can't have that many politicians and corporate leaders that are that sociopathic and that willfully ignorant.
Well,
it has to be done by design to create the chaos. I mean, it's so Machiavellian, the way they divide everybody.
There was a recent article that talked about how if you're a leader nowadays, if you're in politics or you're like a CEO or whatever, that they did a study that shows that that those kinds of people typically they have some type of sociopath.
And at the worst, the worst case, they're psychopaths.
Right.
At the border edge, they're situational sociopaths.
Sure.
Where they're
Situational
willing to
morality.
Yeah.
And mob. That's the other thing that kills me. Go ahead, Jeff.
It's happening all over the world. It's not just here. Where every politician is dirty across the board. You look anywhere.
It's worse in other countries than it is
It's a new
here.
Rome, man.
Yeah,
of course.
The new Rome. It's how Rome was before it collapsed. And if you really stop and think about it, Rome never went out of power. It went from being overt to covert.
Yeah.
Because the same money, the same family, the same bloodlines still control Rome. And Rome controls the city of London, controls Washington, D.C., owns most of the land.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting. I heard some guys talking about how when they were exploring South America, and they got a lot of those explorers and a lot of those people that were going out to go like conquer new lands. They got their marching orders from the Pope.
Oh yeah, they took a Jesuit with everybody.
Yeah, they got
anything that was remotely close to Christianity or contradicted it was wiped out.
Yeah, and I have a friend of mine who's working on becoming a sovereign citizen. He doesn't have a driver's license.
Right.
He doesn't he's doing the whole
Doesn't
sovereign
adhere to the
citizen.
straw man corporate identity.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't have that. Right. He does. His birth certificate and all that stuff. And yeah,
I've gone through that with my bank. I'm like, look, when I signed up for my account, this is the name I gave you. This is who I am.
Right.
You keep changing it to the same name that's on my driver's license and my social security card. I am not that person.
Right.
But they change it anyway.
Right. Yeah. The uppercase, lowercase. You can do your research.
People don't
on
realize
that.
you are actually the reason it's illegal to commit suicide is because you're destroying state property. You can't destroy a government property.
That's right, and you are owned, and they call it birthed because you are in a birth. You're literally in a maritime law presides over the whole birthing procedure. Just like if you're bringing a ship in with cargo, the mother is considered the ship, and you are the cargo in her belly
at the birth.
Yeah, and that's all maritime law that's presiding over that. And so then they assign you your social security number, and then just like what are they called, pork futures?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like they can speculate on pork futures, they can speculate on your future.
I like that.
You're going to be worth so much money to the
similar
country.
to that, where they explain how a court really works.
Yeah.
Is when you show up, if you say, I am this person.
Yeah, now they have somebody to hold accountable.
They have somebody to hold accountable
Right,
for
that's why you
the
have
bill.
representation.
That's why the prosecutor shows up with his checkbook.
Interesting.
Because somebody has to pay. And what they're trying to do is get you to pick up responsibility for that debt.
Yeah, when that buddy of mine that I was talking about that's doing the sovereign citizen stuff, if he gets pulled over with a car, he will not identify himself. I mean, like, it's got. I've never been with him, fortunately, when any of this has happened. But he won't contract. He says that he refuses to contract with the police,
and that makes them so angry.
They hate it. They hate it. I mean, they targeted him because on his license on the car, he has a license for the car, but it's actually not registered through the DMV, and it's he has these plaques that he made himself. They're plastic plaques, kind of like like if you put on the outside of your door, like your name on your door when you're at work, those kind of plaques. He's got two of them, one on the bottom and one on the top of the frame, the license plate frame, and it says something about not for rehire and without prejudice. And supposedly that covers him, that he's not
illegal.
Yeah, that's enough. And so then when the cops, I guess, in his name, because he lives in Cheval, which is like, if you guys don't know, it's one of the nicest, one of the toniest neighborhoods in Tampa. So he lives in Cheval, and there's only one way in and really and one way out of that place. It's like a really nice development. And so he said that they targeted him at one point, and they sat out by the exit of his, and when he left, they pulled him over and they started hassling him and yada, yada, yada. And, and it was all because, like when you look at his license plate, it's got this weird stuff on it because he doesn't have to.
The police are not to serve and protect anymore. It is law enforcement, and they are representatives of the corporate state.
Yeah.
And they are there to enforce collections and whatever else.
One of the videos I saw was ragging on the Transformers movies, and supposedly those movies are all really, really full of occult symbolism.
Oh, totally.
And yada, yada, yada.
I studied this stuff for years, and when I see that, I mean, and they're so
obvious.
open about it
now. It's really, it looks, at least.
It used to be tongue-in-cheek.
Right, and a little more under the, around the bend and stuff, but now it's like right in front of your face. But they were... They showed a quick clip of the Transformer that was like a cop car.
Right.
When they transformed into a cop car, and instead of to serve and protect on it, it said something like to enslave and inflict pain or something like that. Some play on the serve and protect, but it was the reverse. And it was like, it's like, again, you get back into that exoteric agenda where it's like there's the hidden meaning of that, where it's like, that gets in subliminally into your mind that the police are here to inflict pain.
Well, we're talking about movies like that. I go to see these blockbusters, and I'm not somebody who has an emotional reaction to a movie. Not since I was a kid, like Old Yeller or something like that, or Bambi as a child. But I'm watching these movies, and I start experiencing these emotions.
I know what you mean.
That these scenes would never trigger in me. So I know there's a signal underneath that.
Yeah.
Just like I know in all mainstream music, and part of the reason they want to digitize it and control it all is that signal goes into all the music.
Yeah.
They call it the pimple room, where they take the music, and it's a true story.
Interesting.
And once the song and the tracks are produced, they run it through that stuff.
Wild. Well, they were saying that even the trailers, like that they spend so much money on those movies that they strategically pick sections of the trailers so that even if you don't go see the movie, the signal still gets in. The signal will still get in, because you're going to see the trailer on a commercial.
9/11, when they had all the different TV people and movie people come together to work with the government to help us with this, that's when they said, look, this is what we're doing. You're either on board or your life is over.
Well, I think one of the most, speaking of being on board or move on down the line, one of the most interesting things, because we were talking a little bit about this earlier, Chip and I, before we started recording, and he's not, I don't know if you can tell by his slight accent, but he's not fully American. He's definitely one of the most American in spirit.
I'm nationalized.
Yes, he's very nationalized. But he said that in communist countries, this is the way it is. There's no choice.
Yeah.
This is what you do. There's no choice. You want toilet paper, this is the toilet paper. You want soap, this is the soap. There's no choice.
So that's why they trick people into thinking they have a choice, because you've got a variety of things to choose from at the store.
The only difference is you only have the choice between one or two or three different things, but you still have that illusion of choice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he pointed out tonight, and I thought that was really insightful.
And the fact that the thing that I freak out about, some of my friends who are so intelligent and they pick a party and they go off on these things. I'm like, look, you're arguing within defined parameters of something. It can never be anything more than what you think it is, and all you're doing is enhancing the polarity of what's already going on.
Right. Well, they call that the echo chamber.
Yeah.
Is what they call that, and every time it gets repeated, it gets a little bit
And
more.
a perfect example, Ebola, and the way they're hyping it endlessly in the media, scaring everybody to the point where, like, all right, we want you to take our temperature, we want you to do this, and protect us from all this stuff.
Go hype.
And that's part of the Hegelian
Be
dialect.
scared. Yeah.
Hegel, came up with that, where you want people to react a certain way, but they're not going for it because they still have a little bit of critical thinking left. So you create this problem, the people react to it, and you offer the solution, which is the original thing that you wanted to do. And that's part of the reason that in schools, people are no longer taught critical thinking, no longer taught real history. They're no longer taught to pledge allegiance to the flag or anything. And people have been suffering under this illusion of what America is, and that there are still countries. There haven't been countries since 1947.
Yeah,
It's all
I
corporate.
think that whole concept of nationalism. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm proud of being an American, and I'm proud of.
I'm proud of being an American.
Yeah,
by the way.
I'm proud.
But you know
of
what I'm
being-
talking about.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though.
They'd sell it as a way to manipulate people.
Right. Well, no, but here's the thing. I draw the line at killing someone for my patriotism. I mean, that's where I draw the line.
It's different if they invade your country.
Look, I don't care. You want to invade? I'm out. I'll split. I'm fully against any kind of conflict to solve a resolution.
Well, that's just about making money and control and power.
Oh yeah. Well,
Right,
I mean,
all
I
the way
realize
back
that.
to invading
so
armies
it's not
and
going
looting.
anywhere. It's
Yeah.
definitely not going anywhere. But no, I'm definitely of the school of thought that in this day and age, if we're still solving problems by beating on each other and inflicting pain and hurting each other and launching missiles that who knows how many people we're killing, who knows how much damage we're doing to those portions of the city.
You're
we're
right.
gonna then have to get we'll get paid to build back up, as we know how that works.
It's just a racket.
Yeah,
It's just
so,
a racket.
I mean,
I had an example where one of the people that harassed me and actually was part of the thing to get me off of Facebook and other social media, somebody posted something about abortion being murder. And I said, okay, if abortion is murder, then what is capital punishment? They said, justice. I said, well, what is a drone strike that kills a whole bunch of hundreds of innocent children that are already born and walking around with their parents?
Sure.
Not a fetus that's,
Right.
inside a womb.
Right.
And I started getting attacked because I was making people think. And I was just simply asking questions.
It's not an easy. There's no easy answer, and
People are programmed.
yeah.
People don't want to think outside of it.
No.
And it's that herd mentality that it polices itself. They don't need a sheepdog.
No, they all stay together.
They all stay
run
together.
right off the cliff together if they're.
And if you really look at it in a greater scheme of things, people that are aware, that do wake up, we're here to hold an energy pattern so that other people can gravitate toward it and change.
Yeah.
The true separation of the wheat from the chaff is some of us are going to evolve and go on, maybe in physical form into a utopian society. Maybe we'll transition and reincarnate somewhere else. And those other people that are fear mongers, that are wrapped up in our negative programs, are going to experience their apocalypse and Holocaust.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the things that I felt about. I felt about this whole subject before I started really getting into because as you mentioned, I've been doing research all along on these kinds of subjects. I stopped watching regular TV a long time ago, and I fill my mind with what I feel like is some sort of facts. Maybe they're facts mixed in with a bunch of other fictions or whatever, and I trust my own judgment to ascertain.
You create your own reality around you. Here you go.
Pretty much by feeding myself what I want and not consuming that corporate claptrap. It gets in there. See,
I didn't realize how much the external influences really affected us until I started doing sensory deprivation, and I stopped watching TV for like 3 or 4 years. And I would go to a friend's house, and they would have the TV on. I could be in the other room, my head would start hurting.
Yeah.
And I would hear this signal, almost like a ringing sound.
The old TVs had it bad. Now they've got it a little more. And what was funny is for a little while, the live shows that they were doing, like America's Got Talent and stuff like that, you could hear, like, I don't know if it was like a technical glitch that they were having or some kind of like, and my conspiracy theorist mind started firing off, and I was like, ooh, see, that's the signal they're sending out. They can't, they don't have it hidden correctly because there's too many moving components in a live show. And after a week or two, it went away. So it's like they were able to get it like re-hidden again or something. I don't know.
Well, I guess
Probably smoking a little too
the
much.
evil one is winding down in the other studio.
Oh, we could keep. We don't need to wind down. We could keep going. But yes.
Well, somebody's got to set
Yes.
the music up.
Somebody has got to do it. So, well, we hope that we didn't fill your head with too much horrible stuff.
Well, let's leave it on this. This was a little test podcast to see how
Right.
people react to this. So, if you listen to this, please actually take the time to leave a comment and tell us what you think.
right.
If you would like to hear more, if you'd like to hear less, or if you would like us to do it where you could call in.
Yeah, we're open to suggestions, and we love that you guys listen. So thanks for supporting Zen Trips.
Peace out.
Zen Trips, EDM Radio Network.